I remember growing up, whenever there was like a mass murder or something terrible, I mean, something extreme happening in the news, I would hear one of my parents or one of my grandparents say that it's a sign of the times. It's a sign of the times when people do horrific things. But I was led the other day to the Word of God and what the Word of God is saying about the sign of the times. And it led me to Second Timothy chapter 3. I'm reading verses 1 through 5 out of the New International Version, NIV. It says, "But mark this, there will be terrible times in the last days. People will be lovers of themselves, lovers of money, boastful, proud, abusive, disobedient to their parents, ungrateful, unholy, without love, unforgiving, slanderous, without self control, brutal, not lovers of the good, treacherous, rash, conceited, lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God, having a form of godliness, but denying its power. Have nothing to do with such people." The text is so rich, it's so much information in that. But as I was reading through the list, I noticed that on the news or when we think of a sign of the times, we don't think of all these things that are mentioned because, to be frank, I can see myself in some of these. Lovers of money, boastful, proud, disobedient to the parents, ungrateful. How many of us out here have exhibited any of these behaviors? God is looking for somebody that is willing to turn away from the ways of the world and turn it towards Him, to be able to glorify Him by our actions. And it says at the very end, have nothing to do with such people. Now, nowadays we may look at that as you're judging people if you can't be around them or you can't be around anybody. There's a proverb that talks about bad company corrupting good behavior. So even though you may not have the same views as someone that participated or participates in these things, you may then adopt some of the mannerisms or some of the ways of thinking or the ways of doing things based upon your time spending with people that engage in that. Now, God is not saying that if you participate in these things, then there's no coming back from that. But what Paul's letter to Timothy is mentioning and is encouraging us to do is to turn away from these ways. These are signs of the times, and this was written many years ago. It was a sign of the times then, and we're seeing the same things now. So what is that telling us? The signs of the times. There's going to be terrible times in the last days. The original text in the King James Version says perilous times. It's going to be hard to bear these times because of how bad they have been. If we turn on the news now, we have horrific news that's happening. But there's a way for us to stop it. We can be the example that we want to see. We can encourage other people to say, hey, I know that you're living your life that the best way that you know how, but there's a better way. And we don't have to verbalize that all the time. Not everybody wants to hear your words. They want to see your words as you wear them and as you're walking around. And people's like, something, wow, wow, like, tell me your story. And then you have the opportunity to tell them if they're open to hearing it. Or they may just say, hey, you're so cool. How can I hang with you? Hey, won't we go out to lunch one day? Hey, won't we go catch a game one day? Hey, the Super Bowl's this weekend. You want to check it out? It's those small moments where we connect with people and we don't realize the impact that we leave on their lives. It's the opportunity for them to get a glimmer of that light that's inside of you. But it's difficult to do when we're participating in these end time behaviors. It's time for us to check ourselves. Have you checked yourself? This long list in 2 Timothy verses 1 through 5, it checked my spirit. I'm like, wait a minute. I got some work to do. And just like I got some work to do, so do you. When you gonna put in the work? The time is now.